So far this afternoon, we've heard about journeys punctuated by suffering, the immeasurable loss, with scars that still bear their memory. Now, journeys from this horror are by no means easy, but they offer a chance of a new start and a chance to defy the torturer by building a new life. This year is particularly poignant. 75 years have passed since Kristallnacht, and as we've just heard, 20 years have passed since the start of the Rwandan genocide. Joseph Stalin once said that a single death was a tragedy, but 1 million deaths was just a statistic. This day is dedicated to individuals and their stories, not to statistics. The walls of the gas chamber cannot talk. The grass of the killing fields has no voice. Human experience is the best memory. The resilience which allowed the journey to go on and not to forget and to rebuild lives. Journeys like Ben Heflop, who went on to be the captain, to be Olympian of the British weightlifting team in Melbourne and in Rome Olympics. Or to people like Anita Laskow-Wolfish, who believes her talent as a cellist saved her life from almost certain death. She went from the uncomfortable experience of playing for an SS officer to co-founding the English Chamber Orchestra. Or journeys like Kitty Hart-Moxon, who endured 2 years of concentration camp life and survived the death marches. She trained to become a nurse in Britain. Despite all that she's been through, she retained her humanity to care for others and to tend to the sick. Their new lives did not, of course, erase the past. But decades after the end of the Third Reich, there are real and continuing victories over the obscenities of Nazis. But my friends, seeing is believing. And visiting Auschwitz or Birkenau with an education trust is one of the most powerful ways of doing so. The trust also works to bring survivors' testimony into school so that young people can remember and pick up the baton to ensure that this legacy never fades. Now, incredibly, David Herman survived 5 separate concentration camps. He's no longer here to tell his stories, but his daughter, Julia, now retells his experience to school classrooms using video clips and photographs, making sure that her father's story is never forgotten. But just as importantly, to ensure that the words of a grandmother that she never met continue to be heard. Have a good life. Yours is just beginning. Make sure that you survive. These were the words that the Nazis thought they would erase, and yet they're heard in the voice of her granddaughter. The vigilant work of organisations like the Holocaust Day Memorial Trust stops the cracks of intolerance forming in today's society, reminding people why the Holocaust happened. It's something that the Prime Minister believes in. In September, he announced the formation of the Holocaust Commission. The Commission will consider how we should best commemorate the Holocaust for future generations. Small acts of intolerance can be very powerful. The road back to Auschwitz is taken by tiny steps. It might be a neo-Nazi salute given by a footballer. It might be a gang pulling off a woman's headscarf. That's why we must always be vigilant. The lessons of Auschwitz were plain to see during the Rwanda genocide, during the killing fields, in Darfur and in Bosnia. You know, the Holocaust was not caused by monsters. It was caused by people like you and me. It's within all of us. It can change. Our neighbours can suddenly become our enemies. Our neighbours, our school friends, our teachers can suddenly become our jailers. Soon we'll hear from Kamal Pavanich that his teacher, somebody who he considered a role model, became his inquisitor and his torturer. We are lucky to live in a tolerant society and like to believe that we are not capable of such barbarism. But there is only a thin veneer that separates us from committing such betrayals. We only need to look at recent atrocities in the Central African Republic to see that one spark of intolerance quickly spreads an untamable fire. Kamal has poignantly said, "I was a victim, then I was a survivor, but all I wanted to be was a human being again." In spite of the circumstances, your lives, those that have come from the Holocaust to rebuild their lives in this country, has made this country richer, a more tolerant place. You make it a great country to be proud of. I'd like to end by a quotation from the book of Joel, chapter 1, verse 3, which he prophesies this. "Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and their children to the next generation." So this is what we pledge and we do to do. This is what we must do to our utmost. We must continue to remember. Thank you.